Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources and give you those distilled, high-impact lessons you need to be well-informed.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into what really drives financial success. And the core idea is, well, it's pretty radical.
It's this idea that wealth has less to do with your IQ and almost everything to do with your behavior. We're pulling out lessons on greed, happiness, and just how long you can stick around.
Exactly. It's the ultimate shortcut to understanding why some of the smartest people you can imagine fail, and spectacularly, while seemingly ordinary people quietly build fortunes.
We're basically shifting the focus away from all the hard math and the formulas.
To the soft skills, emotional intelligence, behavior.
Yeah.
It's where the real work gets done.
Okay, so to get us started, let's look at a contrast that just perfectly defines this whole premise. We've got two real-world stories here. On one side, you have this certified genius, a tech executive, massively successful. I mean, this is a guy who patented a key component for Wi-Fi in his 20s.
He was undeniably brilliant, sold companies for huge sums of money.
And yet, his financial life was a total train wreck.
Yeah.
Just powered by pure ego.
The notes we have call his relationship with money childish stupidity. He'd carry around these absurdly thick stacks of cash, openly brag about it.
But the real kicker, the moment that tells you everything you need to know, was when he took his friends down to the Pacific Ocean.
I remember this detail.
He takes $1,000 gold coins.
$1,000 each.
Each. And he just starts skipping them across the water like they're pebbles, just for a laugh.
To show that he could, it's this profound disregard for the value of the assets he controlled. It was never going to be stable.
Of course not. And that behavior, unsurprisingly, caught up with him. He was over-leveraged, spending like crazy, and then 2008 hit.
And it wiped him out completely. He went bankrupt.
Now compare that with Ronald Reed.
The other end of the spectrum entirely.
The absolute definition of humble. He was a gas station attendant, a janitor in rural Vermont.
Spent 25 years fixing cars, another 17 sweeping floors at JCPenney. Lived a very quiet, modest life.
He didn't earn much at all.
No, but he did two things perfectly. He saved what he could, even tiny amounts, and he put that money into reliable blue-chip stocks.
And then the crucial part.
He just waited. He ignored them. And when he passed away in 2014 at 92, the world finally saw the result of his behavior.
He died with a net worth of over $8 million.
$8 million. And you have to understand, there was no lottery win, no big inheritance.
It's just consistency. The genius threw his fortune away, and the janitor became this quiet titan.
The conclusion is just startling, right?
Yeah.
Financial success isn't a hard science. It's a soft skill. It's how you behave.
So if behavior is the key, we have to start by defining wealth itself. Because we get it wrong all the time. We see spending and we think rich.
Which leads directly to what the source calls the man in the car paradox.
Right. You see someone in a $100,000 sports car, and you automatically think, wow, that person is rich.
But what do you actually know for sure? All you know is that they have $100,000 less than they did before.
Or they have $100,000 more in debt. The car is actually evidence of wealth they no longer have.
Exactly. True wealth is invisible. It's the income you didn't spend. It's the assets you haven't converted into stuff you can show off. It's what you don't see.
And that creates this huge contradiction. I love this quote from our source material. When most people say they want to be a millionaire, they might actually mean, I'd like to spend $1 million.
Which is literally the opposite of being a millionaire.
It's the exact opposite. But, you know, that urge to spend is so powerful. That's social signaling.
And once you start playing that social comparison game, you're on a treadmill that just never, ever ends. It leads right to this problem of never enough.
The story about Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller is perfect for this.
Oh, it's brilliant.
So they're at a party hosted by a billionaire hedge fund manager, and Vonnegut points out that this manager made more money in a single day than Heller's classic novel, Catch-22, had made in its entire history.
And Heller's response is just a mic drop moment. He says, yes, but I have something he will never have.
Enough.
Enough. It's so powerful. And yet so many people who are objectively wealthy just can't find that feeling. Think about Rajat Gupta, already incredibly rich.
And he still risked everything, his reputation, his freedom, for a $17 million insider trading tip.
He went to prison.
Or the geniuses at long-term capital management, guys worth hundreds of millions. They risked what they did have and did need for something they didn't have and didn't need. And they lost it all.
Because that ceiling of comparison just keeps moving. You could be a rookie baseball player making $500,000 a year and feel broke next to Mike Trout's $36 million contract.
And Mike Trout probably looks at Jeff Bezos, who in 2018 made $24 billion and
Right.
suddenly his $36 million feels like nothing.
It's a game that's designed to be unwinnable.
The only way to win is to not play. You have to set your own goalposts and just stop moving them.
And setting those goalposts requires understanding time, which brings us to compounding. We always talk about Warren Buffett as the greatest investor ever with that phenomenal 22% annual return. Right, but his skill isn't actually the whole story. It's not even the main story. The key to his success, the real secret, is his longevity.
Yeah, the numbers on this are just staggering.
Okay, so think about it. Buffett started investing when he was 10 years old. 10.
Unbelievable.
And he's still going in his late 80s. Of his, $84.5 billion net worth, $81.5 billion of it came after his 65th birthday.
So all the work he did for 55 years was just the setup. The real gross came at the very end.
The time horizon was the magic. He was a phenomenal investor for 3/4 of a century. Our source material uses this great analogy of the Ice Age to explain it.
Right, because you think an ice age must be from some huge catastrophic event.
But it's not. It's just a tiny, consistent change. A slight wobble in the Earth's tilt means a little less summer sunlight.
So some of the snow from winter doesn't melt.
Exactly. And that thin layer of snow reflects more light, which means more cooling, which means more snow lasts the next year. It compounds slowly over thousands of years into these miles-thick ice sheets.
Tremendous results from consistent pressure, not tremendous force.
That's it. Which makes the difference between getting wealthy and staying wealthy so clear.
Getting wealthy can be about taking huge risks, but staying wealthy, that's a different skill entirely.
Staying wealthy requires a survival mentality. It's basically a combination of frugality and paranoia. Good investing isn't about always making great decisions. It's about consistently not screwing up.
Not blowing up.
Not blowing up. Avoiding ruin is everything. The story of Rick Guerin illustrates this just heartbreakingly.
He was the third partner, right, with Buffett and Munger. And, by all accounts, just as smart as them.
Every bit as smart at getting rich. But he was in a hurry. He wanted to get there faster, so he used leverage, margin loans.
Which is fine when things are going up.
But when the market crashed in 73, 74, Buffett and Munger had cash. They could wait. They could even buy more.
Guerin couldn't. The bank called his loans.
He was forced to sell his stock at the absolute bottom, wiped him out. He was right about the future, but he couldn't survive the present to get there.
Survival is the price of admission for compounding to work its magic.
It is.
So if you survive, what's the real reward? The sources argue it's not about buying more stuff, it's about gaining control.
Absolutely. Money's greatest intrinsic value is that it gives you control over your time. The ability to wake up and say, I can do what I want, when I want, with who I want.
And there's actual psychological proof for this. It's not just a nice idea.
Right. There's research from back in 1981 by Angus Campbell. He found that a strong sense of controlling your own life is a way more dependable predictor of happiness than your salary or your job title or the size of your house.
That's a huge insight. Because you could be doing a job you love, let's say you're a surgeon, but if you don't control your schedule, if you're on call all the time,
It can feel the same as doing a job you hate. That feeling of being powerless is it's draining.
which is why savings, without a specific spending goal, is so important. It's described as the oxygen of independence.
You're not saving for a boat. You're saving to buy yourself options. Time to think.
And to manage that oxygen, you have to understand the difference between being rational and being reasonable.
Yes, rational is what looks perfect on a spreadsheet. It's the mathematically optimal choice. But reasonable is what you can actually stick with in the real world, with all your emotions.
The best example of this is Harry Markowitz, the guy who won a Nobel Prize for developing modern portfolio theory.
You'd think his own portfolio would be perfectly rationally optimized to the decimal point.
And it wasn't. He admitted he split his own retirement money 50-50 between stocks and bonds.
Why? He said it was to minimize future regret. He was prioritizing sleeping well at night over squeezing out every last drop of potential return.
He was being reasonable, not purely rational.
Yeah, exactly. It shows you the danger of these rational but unreasonable plans. Like, a study might prove that a young investor should use 2-to-1 margin debt for the best long-term returns.
That's rational on paper.
But it's psychologically impossible. One bad crash and you're wiped out. No normal person can endure that and just start over. The real advantage comes from a reasonable strategy that you can actually stick with for 20 years.
Because sticking with it is how you survive, which means you have to plan for the unexpected. You need room for error.
The most important part of any plan is planning on the plan not going according to plan. That margin of safety is what lets you absorb shocks.
Like a professional blackjack player, they might have a 2% edge.
But if they bet everything on one hand, a string of bad luck can ruin them. They have to have enough capital to endure the swings, to stay at the table long enough for their edge to actually work.
And then there are the risks you can't even imagine, the black swans.
Yeah, the story about the German army at Stalingrad is amazing.
Their tanks were these legendary machines, right? Built to withstand anything.
But what defeated them in the end? Field mice. The mice got inside and chewed the electrical insulation, and the tanks just short-circuited in the cold.
You can't plan for a mouse attack.
No, but you can build in redundancy. You can avoid single points of failure. That's your defense against the things you can't foresee.
And avoiding failure is so important because, and this is counterintuitive, tails drive everything.
It's true. Most of the stock market's returns come from a tiny handful of superstar companies. Just 7% of companies drove the majority of returns since 1980.
So you can be wrong most of the time and still come out way ahead.
As long as you capture those few massive wins, Walt Disney is the perfect example.
By the mid-30s, he'd made over 400 cartoons. Most of them lost money or barely broke even.
But then came Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That was the tail event. That one film paid for everything, paid off all the debts, and built the entire company we know today.
So to capture those tails, you have to endure the volatility. You have to see it as a fee, not a fine.
That's the price of admission. It's unavoidable. The market is defined by fear and uncertainty. If you try to get the reward without paying the price, by jumping in and out, you're basically committing Grand Theft Auto. It almost never ends well.
And this gets even trickier when we run into the different games problem. We see other people winning, and we think we should be playing their game.
Right. Think about the price of a share of Google. The rational price depends completely on your time horizon.
If you're investing for 30 years, you're looking at one thing. If you're a day trader holding it till lunchtime, you're looking at something totally different.
And bubbles form when those time horizons shrink, when the short-term traders take over.
Like the dot-com boom or the housing crisis.
Exactly. Long-term investors get sucked into the frenzy, they start playing a short-term game without realizing it, and they get crushed when things correct. Knowing your own time horizon is your best defense.
Okay, so let's tie these threads together. Let's summarize the key, actionable, soft skills here.
First, less ego, more wealth. Remember, wealth is just the income you haven't spent. Keep your goalpost fixed.
Second, use your money to buy control over your time. That's the real dividend. Prioritize that oxygen of independence.
And third, you have to worship room for error. Survival makes the compounding magic possible. Stay in the game long enough to let the tails do their work.
And staying in the game for that long requires a certain mindset, one that really goes against our human nature. We use history as a map, but the sources remind us that things that have never happened before happen all the time.
And pessimism just sounds smarter. It's seductive. That's because progress happens so slowly you barely notice it, like the huge decline in heart disease deaths over decades.
But setbacks, recessions, wars, they happen fast. They're dramatic. You can't ignore them.
So this bias toward immediate disaster makes pessimism feel more persuasive than optimism. The true long-term skill, then, is to maintain what our sources call sensible optimism.
Believing the odds are in your favor over the long run.
While knowing and accepting that the road to get there will be filled with misery and temporary setbacks. That belief is the real price you pay to play the long game. Something to think about as you look at your own financial behavior.